since that's what you're famous for doing.
Science and Innovation Select Committee, sir, to consider the bill. The appropriate time, I intend to move that the bill be reported to the House by 31st of October 2024, and that the committee have authority to meet at any time while the House is sitting, except during oral questions, during any evening on a day on which there has been a sitting of the House on a Friday in a week, in which there has been a sitting of the House, and outside the Wellington area, despite Standing Orders 193, 195 and 196. The Crown Minerals Amendment Bill. For the benefit of the House and the broader community tuned in, I shall now focus on the key changes in this bill and explain why the government is pursuing them. Our government inherited, sir, a dire situation where gas supply has been tight and demand grossly exceeds supply. Why does this situation exist? It exists, sir, because of an ideological urge to reject the value of an indigenous resource called natural resource, an indigenous resource in New Zealand called natural gas that represents a key contingency fuel that offers security to New Zealand's energy system. An irrational belief that this valuable resource represents a threat to New Zealand's reputation, New Zealand's stamina economically. Our government rejects that ideological claptrap. We need natural gas to provide electricity generation at a time where our hydro lakes cannot service demand. Yes, there is an appetite for more renewable resources to create energy. Sadly, our current fields are in decline. We need more investment. But who will invest when regimes come into place in New Zealand and go out of their way to demonise and stigmatise investors, indiscriminately destroying rights, undermining certainty, and going out of their way to trivialise the ambitions of economic investors? Methanex, recently a large international company, halted all production, a type of deindustrialisation, a direct consequence of an ideology driven by this vain pursuit that New Zealand can be a world leader, in this vain hope that New Zealand alone will save the planet, something I personally reject. New Zealand must look after itself before it cares for the planet. Without secure energy, sir, without affordable energy, we are going to see the closure of industry in New Zealand, just as the last regime closed down the only refinery in New Zealand. That's why, sir, this bill will create additional certainty and enable investment to take place. It will reverse the ban on offshore gas and exploration put in place by the last government. It will re-establish New Zealand as a place attractive to overseas investors and halt the slip of our reputation towards a Venezuelan destination. Not only will the reversal of the ban create good outcomes for energy security, it will open up new opportunities and enable the Crown to receive fresh applications for offshore exploration. But at a more fundamental level, my message to Kiwis: the last government did not put a large sign up for the rest of the world to believe that we're open for business. They set up a closed door approach that we were the hermit kingdom. No, this bill clearly identifies that we most certainly are going to trust in our own ability to deliver secure energy, and we will use gas, which is a better outcome for imported coal. I have taken account of the concerns of the industry. The bill makes three key changes. It will reduce the burden on permit holders. While continuing to protect the Crown, private landowners and ultimately the taxpayer, we will bring more flexibility on how mandatory financial securities are held. We will limit the trailing liability to the immediate prior permit holder. We're not going to go back to the Garden of Eden, Adam and Eve, believing that you can pursue liabilities to multiple corporate generations, having the effect of destroying confidence. Therein lies the ideological difference between this side of the House and that side of the House. They overstate risk and understate cost. In addition to that, we are going to ensure that small-scale mining can proceed with minimal bureaucratic interference. Now, something might be said, sir, about what is the impact on our emissions. We remain dedicated to an energy transition, but not at the point of hollowing out jobs and deindustrialisation. That type of fuzzy communist thinking has no place on this side of the House. I repeat, sir, natural gas is critical. It will have a place until at least 2050. Increases in emissions from gas supply is vastly preferable to our reliance on coal. But the reality is we need all of the options if we are to deliver affordable, secure energy. No one is going to invest in our economy, sir, if we cannot provide a menu of security. No one is going to trust a government, a regulatory environment, if indiscriminately their rights are going to be destroyed, as happened under the last regime. We're going to hear apocryphal stories that the planet is going to boil, that jobs are going to suddenly appear because of clean, green energy. Jobs follow investment. Investment dies at the feet of uncertainty and indiscriminate changes as a consequence of capricious bureaucracy, something that characterised the energy policy of the last government. In conclusion, sir, this bill introduces a set of changes to the CMA to immediately improve the economics of the petroleum investment in New Zealand and the regulatory efficiency of the Crown Minerals regime. It removes the ban on new petroleum exploration beyond the shore of Taranaki, signalling that NZ is open for business. It adjusts the decommissioning regime, moves away from these apocryphal stories, exaggerations, and we will have a response that is proportionate to the risk that is being managed. Something sadly absent from the responses from the last regime. And it will boost gas production to improve the security of supply, something sorely needed by garden variety Kiwis businesses. I commend this bill to the House.
I can't. For those who are wondering, Shane Jones, we had to turn up the speed because he was speaking so slow.
What was that about the Garden of Eden? I went to Catholic school and I don't recall the mention of the oil rig in the Garden of Eden.
How was no one laughing in the House? That was like, I was reading through the debate transcript because I don't watch the video, so I read through the debate transcripts, and I didn't prepare myself for how funny that was going to be. But I have so many questions for Shane Jones, and the first one is he refers to gas as an Indigenous resource, something that he is full of. Does Shane Jones support the fact that iwi, hapu and whānau who have customary marine titles have ownership over Indigenous minerals? So that's like your iron sands, your rock phosphates, your precious and base metal sulfides. like, okay, he's in support of that, right? Is he? We're talking about Indigenous minerals.
Well, like the other one is, the oil refinery at Marsden Point was not technically shut down by the government. It was shut down by the private owners who owned it because the government sold it off quite a number of years ago. So it was private industry that shut down Marsden Point, not the government.
Are we also going to talk about Methanex, which is a Canadian company? I don't know how that ties in with New Zealand First, but
no. Methanex has a methane plant in Waitara.
Yeah.
Which basically makes methanol product or something. It's about gas capture. Instead of running their natural gas through their plant, on the spot price market for natural gas in New Zealand got that high, it was more profitable for the business to put it into the main grid than it was to actually make what they specialise in. So that's the reason why for 2 months, 2-3 months, they shut down their plant while putting the gas that they have the right that they've extracted and have the rights to into the New Zealand grid. And Methanex are known for burning off what's it called, excess gas in there. Like when we stay at Chris and Daniela's, you can see the flare. You can see like the orange sky out towards the east of their house, which is like 5-10 k's away from the Methanex factory.
And then he makes a weird comparison to Venezuela, which is, I've got my notes here. It has sanctions on it placed due to government entities and individuals associated with the administration of Maduro. And it was the Trump administration that imposed economic sanctions to individuals and companies in the petroleum, gold, and mining industries. So how are we comparable to that?
I don't know.
Like, where is he going? And then he talks about communism, which is like, don't even get me started on that. I mean, I'm a socialist, but communism is not what he's describing.
I think what people who think communism is a negative thing think of communism as actually communism with a very big touch of fascism, which is not true communism. That is communism that went wrong, and they're probably associating the Soviet Union and indirectly the CPP from China, even that's not exactly a communist regime in the defines of what communism is meant to be about.
It's like, my guy, there's no Stalinists in Parliament. Like, point to the Stalinist. Where's the Stalinist? Where are the tankies? I don't know. It's like, I'm just over here saying, help me.
You've kept quiet, Troy.
Yeah, come on, Troy, let's go.
I'm just so moved by Matawa Jones's impassioned speech and speaking in terms of protecting something that he knows is dying. In particular, where he talks about how reserves are lessening and how we need to find more of it. There is no more. That's the point. That's why they're less
yeah.
than pigs. We're running out. I'm aware that there is more that could be looked for, but why? Why are we doing this? We made such a big step. The people of Taranaki were angry. It really damaged changes to the, it really caused negative changes to the economy when this bill was brought in. But to reverse it like this is just going to create an artificial bubble.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, green tech jobs are growing. I mean, Professor Cooney from Auckland University found that worldwide jobs in renewables reached 13.7 million in 2022, which was up from 7.3 million in 2012. So, you know, the industry is growing. We just need more specialists.
New Zealand is now one of the leading countries for research into hydrogen as a transition.
Absolutely. I am pumped for hydrogen, man. Bring that shit on.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, now, would hydrogen run on petrol or diesel engines or both? Because LPG runs brilliantly on petrol-based engines, but does not really function on a diesel.
Right. With minor modifications, you can actually use ammonia as a fuel source for petrol engines. The problem with hydrogen is that it's a very light gas. It's very difficult to store, and it's very difficult to store in any metal container. But as a liquid, ammonia is a little bit easier to maintain and look after. There is a downside to using ammonia as a fuel, though, because it's HN2. The byproduct of burning ammonia is nitrous oxide, which is equally as bad for the environment as carbon dioxide. Unfortunately, it's also produced 3 times the amount when you burn it.
Useful facts. Let's see what Dr. Megan Wood